All right, so working on the beetle here. We are right now working on the carburetor, trying to get this thing running right, and having to do quite a bit of adjustment to it to get it just to settle in. But we've gotten it all hooked up to the chassis, as you've seen here. I went for the Optima red top battery, and man, that thing it turns it over no problem. I went with that one because of it's a side post. Don't have to worry about shorting it out because of the it's going to be up under the rear seat, and so plenty of power there. As you can see, we've got everything bolted up. Got the motor. We took the fan shroud and everything off because of using this progressive carb. It's very difficult to get to the adjustments, and so we wanted to get it adjusted first, and then we'll go on with the fan shroud. As you see here, we modified the fan shroud. We put this hole in it, basically set in a just kind of this inset, so we don't short out on the choke assembly. So as you can see here, we kind of got it stripped down to the bare minimum for cranking it. We've got a switch over here. One of the wires is run straight to the positive side of the battery. Another one is ran over here to the solenoid, as you can see. And then a final one is ran up here to the coil. And then this cable here goes to the choke assembly. We've got kind of a makeshift gas tank here, got a filter plugged in, and right now it's pinched off since we've got the carburetor off. But a couple of things to point out that were really nerve-wracking for a while. Once we cranked it up, you're going to have some smoke, some things settling in and everything. And you want to check for leaks and strange noises. And so we were checking for leaks. We had a couple on the underside of the case where the oil plate on the bottom wasn't everything wasn't all the way tight on it, so we had a little bit of leak there. And then we had this really massive noise, and one of the reasons why we came off with a fan shroud is here on the left side of the engine. We had just this massive whining sound that at times when the engine was kind of low idle, it would go away, but once you start cranking it up, it would just start squealing. It was just this real loud shriek. It sounded like metal against metal. And we went through all the tin here and held down the tin. We couldn't find it. It ended up being, it's interesting, as we were kind of moving around, whenever I would push down, this is your intake manifold here. It comes to these horns. This is a dual port, and so that goes down to your heads. And whenever I would push down on this slight pressure, it would start to go away or go higher in pitch. And so that told me that something was going on there, and ended up stopping the engine. Took the spark plugs or the wires off so that I could get down here to where the nuts are. You can kind of see, well, if I can get it, one of them right up in there. There's one on either side to help tighten that horn down onto the head. Come to find out, the one on the back side here was not all the way down. It was loose, and so what we were hearing was escaping air at a really high velocity. It was creating that really high-pitched shriek and squeal, and we just, for the life of us, couldn't figure out what that was. And so ended up going down there, tightening, making sure it was tightened down, and torqued to what it needed to be, and that took care of it. So as you're going through this stuff, you're going to be putting it on, taking it off. We've actually come off with the engine 2 or 3 times now. One of the things on your flywheel, when you check your end play, they say you're supposed to have 3 shims, and we only had 2. So and it was a good thing because on our flywheel was a 4-post or a 4-dowel flywheel, and it only actually had 2 dowels in it, and we didn't really think anything about it. And they say that, with just 2, you could possibly end up shearing that off, and then you're just really up a creek. So We took the flywheel off. We put those dowels in so that we have 4 in it, and then we put the flywheel back on. The other key is that the book says you're supposed to put about 253 foot-pounds of torque on that flywheel. And our impact driver, I think it might have gone up to 150 or so. So one of the things that we had to do, we used a cheater bar, and you kind of have to do some math and some physics to figure it out. But our local guy, he was suggesting that we go up to like 400 foot-pounds of torque, mainly because we have an oversized cam, we've got larger pistons in it and things like that. It's going to have, it's going to be a beefier engine than just regular stock. So he suggested that we put more torque on that gland nut that bolts your flywheel to the engine. And so we had we've got a torque wrench that'll go up to 600 pounds. And so we used that. We used a cheater bar to really be able to get down on it. And we took it up to about, I think it was around 450 pounds or so. So it's on there. It ain't coming off on its own. So those are little things like that. We got it bolted back on. When you're going back on, when you're doing that flywheel, you need to make a flywheel lock, and I don't think I have it around here. I'll show you in another video. But we forgot to take that lock off, and as we were trying to put the engine on, we couldn't get it to bolt up to the transmission, and we were just racking our brain trying to figure out what it was until we finally saw it, and we pulled it off, and it bolted up no problem. So right now, we're trying to get it running right. We've got this carb. We've gone on with it. It's running, it's just not running where it needs to be, and we've made all the adjustments. So right now we're working on that, fine-tuning it, but those are just some little tips. Maybe it'll help some of you guys that are working on this if you're doing a 72 Super Beetle. All right, thanks.